You're not antisocial. You don't hate people. But somehow, a life with very few close friendships has become your normal. And maybe you've made peace with it. Or maybe, late at night, some part of you still wonders if something is quietly wrong with you. But what if nothing is wrong? What if the very things that keep people at a distance are actually the rarest things about you? You know the feeling. You can be in a room full of people and feel more alone than when you're by yourself. You've tried. The small talk, the group chats, the social rituals that everyone else seems to move through so effortlessly. But something in you keeps pulling back. Not out of fear, exactly. More like a quiet refusal. A refusal to be somewhere you don't fully belong. And so the years pass, and the friendships thin out. Not because of a falling out. Not because of a single defining moment. Just a slow, natural drift. Toward solitude. Toward fewer people. Toward the ones who actually matter. Toward yourself. And the world looks at this and calls it loneliness. But what if it's something else? What if it's simply the inevitable shape of a particular kind of mind? Social psychology has spent decades studying the relationship between personality and the size of a person's social circle. And what the research consistently shows is this: the people with the fewest friends are not the most damaged. They are, very often, among the most complex. They carry traits that make shallow connection feel not just boring, but genuinely draining. Traits that make them difficult to know quickly. Traits that mean most people will simply never fully see them. And that's not a wound. That is the cost of being rare. Here are 5 traits that tend to live in people who walk through life with very few, but deeply real, connections. Trait 1. Depth intolerance for superficiality. You don't dislike people. You dislike performance. Small talk doesn't bore you because you're arrogant. It bores you because your brain is genuinely wired for something deeper. Psychologists call this the need for cognition, a stable individual trait that describes the tendency to seek out and truly enjoy effortful, complex thinking. People who score high in this trait find shallow conversation not just dull, but costly. It requires real energy, while returning almost nothing. Your brain is constantly asking, what does this person actually think? What do they carry? What have they really been through? And when the conversation stays at the level of weather and weekend plans, something in you quietly closes, not out of judgment, out of hunger. You are not hard to talk to. You are hard to reach quickly. And most people never stay long enough to get there. Trait 2. Hyper-authenticity. There's a version of you that could perform better in social settings. Smile more. Share less. Ask surface-level questions. And nod at surface-level answers. You know how it's done. You just can't sustain it. This is rooted in what researchers call self-monitoring, the degree to which a person adjusts their behavior based on social cues and the expectations around them. Low self-monitors, and people with few close friends tend to score lower here, present the same self, regardless of context. They don't have a work version, a party version. They are just themselves. Everywhere. Always. This quality is deeply attractive to people who value realness, and deeply uncomfortable to people who don't. Most casual social environments reward performance. They reward the version of you that plays along, that fits the mold. And when you refuse, not rudely, just authentically, the crowd thins. What remains is fewer people, but far more honest ones. Trait 3. High empathic burden. You feel what other people feel. Not metaphorically, neurologically. Mirror neurons, the neural circuits responsible for social mirroring, fire strongly in highly empathic individuals. When someone near you is in pain, you don't simply observe it from a distance. You register it inside your own body. And this means that relationships are never light for you. Every friendship carries weight. Every close connection draws from a reserve that is finite. Psychologists who study introversion and empathy have found something consistent. The more empathically attuned a person is, the more selectively they tend to invest in their close relationships. Not because they care less, because they care more. And somewhere, quietly, they know exactly what it costs them. You don't have few friends because you're cold. You have few friends because full presence is all you know how to give. And you can only give it to so many people at once. Trait 4. An unusually high threshold for trust. You have been let down before. Maybe not dramatically, maybe not with cruelty, but you noticed the small things. The promise kept 90% of the way. The private conversation that found its way to someone else. The moment you were vulnerable, and it was handled carelessly, and your brain filed it carefully, quietly, permanently. This is connected to what attachment researchers sometimes call a finely calibrated trust threshold. Your nervous system learned, likely very early, that not everyone deserves the full version of you. And so, over time, it built a gate. But here is the important thing. This isn't trauma speaking. This is discernment. Research on adult attachment and social trust consistently shows that people who invest slowly in relationships tend to build connections with far greater long-term stability. The cost is a smaller circle. The gain is one that actually holds. Trait 5. A rich inner world that competes with the outer one. You are never truly bored when you're alone. There is always something turning inside, a question you can't quite put down, a memory that resurfaced without warning, an idea that arrived at 2 in the morning, and quietly never left. Psychologists who study introversion, most notably Hans Eysenck, through his cortical arousal theory, found that introverted individuals have a naturally higher baseline of internal stimulation. The brain is already active, already engaged, already somewhere interesting. For this kind of mind, external socializing isn't filling a void, it's interrupting a process. This doesn't mean you don't want connection. It means the connection has to be worth the cost of leaving the world inside your head. And most interactions simply aren't. But the ones that are, the ones that match the interior richness you carry with you everywhere, those become the friendships you would do anything to keep. Here is the mental model that ties all of this together. Think of your social life not as a network, but as a frequency. Most people broadcast on a common channel. Easy to find, easy to tune into. The signal is familiar, comfortable, expected. Your frequency is rarer. It carries more depth, more authenticity, more weight, more interior complexity. Not everyone has the receiver for it. Most people will simply scan past. But some, a few, maybe only a handful across an entire lifetime, will stop and quietly say, "That's the one. Those are your people." And you will know them not by how many there are, but by how completely they receive you. Society measures friendship in volume. How many, how often, how visible. But the research on well-being and human connection tells a very different story. What truly predicts life satisfaction is not the size of your social circle. It is the quality of felt understanding within the connections you have. One person who truly sees you is worth more than 100 who simply know your name. You are not broken for wanting that. You are not cold for refusing anything less. You are not lonely, not in the way that word is meant as an accusation. You are specific. You know what you need. You know what you offer. And you are patient enough, or perhaps just honest enough, to wait for what actually fits. The world will keep calling you an outlier. Let it. Outliers are not failed averages. They are data points that belong to a different pattern entirely, one that most people never live long enough to understand. But you're already in it. You have been, all along,